can just send me that one. I'll get these in at least for now. So, okay, we'll begin by calling to order the public hearing for the purpose of soliciting input with respect to a bond authorization in the amount of $40 million for a phosphorus reduction upgrade project at the Water Pollution Control Facility, as requested by Michael LeBlanc, Director of Finance. Anyone who wishes to address the board on this bond authorization, please sign up with our city sheriff, Mr. Conway. Please state your name and address for the record. There's a 5-minute limit, and I will give you a 1-minute heads up. Mr. Sheriff.
First speaker tonight from 11 Steuben Street, Lawrence V. DiPillo.
Good evening, Lawrence DiPillo from 11 Steuben Street. And as far as this $40 million phosphorus reduction upgrade project goes, first of all, I don't know whether or not this administration has petitioned the EPA to see if there's any changes that have been made or is being anticipated to be made with this phosphorus reduction. And secondly, whether or not the DEEP has agreed that if the EPA is going to relax any rules, whether or not they're going to follow suit or whether or not they're going to keep this mandate in place. So I think that's the first issue. The second issue goes to Synagro. We owned that plant. That was a couple of years back when I was on the committee for the waste and water. And a number of things the mayor was supposed to do that he didn't do. One of them was to determine whether or not it made sense for us to continue to incinerate our waste. The fact of the matter is that Synagro processes only 25% of the waste comes from the city of Waterbury. The other 75% comes from outside the city. So we are somebody's regional garbage dump, is what it comes down to. We're taking in all their waste, we're incinerating it, and we're polluting the south end of the city with somebody else's waste. And the people who've been paying these taxes in that part of the city aren't very happy that they've been the city's dumping ground for many years. The mayor it seems, had no interest in determining whether or not that Synagro operation should have continued, but instead renewed the contract with Synagro, allowing them to take in 75% from outside the city. And if you look at the budget that was proposed, it doesn't look like we're getting much for all the pollution that the citizens are breathing, which includes recently what's going on with mercury. Also, it seems that when the Synagro was down and not operating, the city met the phosphorus numbers without having to build a phosphorus reduction plant. So we're treating 3/4 from outside the city. They're creating more phosphorus. They're requiring us to build a $40 million facility based on today's rules and regulations. It doesn't make any sense. Furthermore, I had asked the mayor to look at a number of other proposals, one of which was for $40 million. How many years would that allow the city of Waterbury to export its waste elsewhere? It could be dewatered, much more than what the city of Waterbury is able to dewater it, and then dispose of it. We're not the only city that generates waste, and we don't have to incinerate it. It seems the mayor never had an interest in that proposal. Furthermore, we take waste in from Watertown and Wolcott. And since a lot of our industry has left town, much of it went to Watertown and Wolcott, we have the right under our contracts to test the waste that comes into the city of Waterbury from the entry points of both Watertown and Wolcott. And if they're the ones who are bringing in the phosphorus in excess of what we are, or they are the ones who are bringing in the heavy metals and the other items, hazardous wastes, that make our waste non-saleable, then we should be assessing them accordingly.
1 minute, Mr. DiPillo.
Seems the mayor had no interest in that either. So before we saddle the people of Waterbury with more capital recovery charges and another $40 million, I'd ask you to take a good hard look and reject this until somebody gives you some reasonable answers as to why we're doing this in the first place. And furthermore, I just want to bring you to the annual report of 2013, when the sewer department came up with their other best proposal for Waterbury, and that was to submit to the Clean Water Fund application to construct a regional FOG, fat, oil, and grease receiving facility at our plant. Seems the only thing people who are in charge of the city think we're good for is bringing in other people's garbage. Thank you.
Next speaker from 96 Down Street, Martin Spring.
Martin Spring, 96 Down Street. You know, it never ceases to amaze me how every time we turn around that we're going to be bonding this and bonding that. $40 million is an awful lot of money. You know, I understand that we probably have to upgrade this pollution control facility, but the bottom line is, how much money do we have to always spend and ask the taxpayers to step up to the plate? I don't care if the money is coming from the federal government, from the state, or wherever it's coming from. The bottom line is still taxpayers' money. And, you know, I'm not against this, but I think being involved with the Waterville Community Club, being the past president and the co-president today, Waterville Community Club, I'm very happy and elated we have some stuff going down in Waterville, like King Industries and many other places. But the bottom line is, you should turn around, and all you people in the district, in this district over here within the South End, you should invite some of your constituents before this facility gets built and show them what's got to be done and why it's got to be done with some elaboration, and ask them, you know, what can we do for you? Because, you know, we represent you. You know, you're in our district, you're in our ward. We do have aldermen by district now, because I know it's the same in Waterville. When I need things done in Waterville, in that part of town, I call my aldermen up, and aldermen by district, all three of them. The thing is, we got to understand that people in the city of Waterbury right now are really hurting really bad as far as so many things going on. I mean, you look at the roads, you look at the infrastructure, you look at the bridges around. Yeah, I mean, maybe this doesn't have a lot to do with this, but still, it's Waterbury and it's taxpayers' money. I really want to see, you know, somebody step up to the plate from the Board of Aldermen, any of you guys and ladies, and just say, you know, Martin is right, Larry's right. You know, before we go ahead and authorize this $40 million, let's turn around and see what we can really do. Maybe you can lower this. Do we have to spend this kind of money? I mean, you know, you have study after study after study, all kinds of research. Why can't they regenerate any of the waste? I know if you go on the web, and you could, you know, the mayor said to me, the website's a beautiful thing. You find a lot of information on there. That's if you want to go look and have the time. And I don't want to tell you guys and ladies what to do, but I think if you turned around and you went ahead and went on the web, and you can go around, even in some places in Europe, they reuse all this stuff, and they fix it in a way where it's going to benefit the people living in the towns, you know, in other words, for reusable energy and stuff like that. And that's something you guys could think about, because, I mean, just if you could turn around and, you know, use a facility like this to regenerate all that electricity and everything else that's coming in there, whatever it is, and put it into good use, okay? And meaning, like, the municipal buildings need to be lighted up and things like that. I wouldn't want to be paying the electric bill for the, you know, for the whole entire city of Waterbury. I can imagine what it must be, and the oil bills and the gas bills and everything else. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you should really scrutinize this with some emphasis and listen to what Mr. DePillo is saying, who's, by the way, was a former Board of Aldermen, as you know. And I know he always, you know, looked at things. He wanted to dot the I's and cross the T's, and I commend him for that. And you know, I'm just saying that as a Waterbury taxpayer, I'm just saying you guys should turn around, and you can't approve everything just because somebody wants it. I'm not against anything or anybody. I'm just saying that $40 million is a lot of money. It's
1
an
minute.
awful lot of money. Thank you, Mr. President. And we should really pay attention to where the money is going and where's it going and what's it going for. And do we really need to do this right now? Can't we just sit back and look and say, maybe we could listen to Martin, maybe we can listen to Larry, maybe we can do what we can to help the Waterbury taxpayers. Again, you members on the Board of Aldermen did in the various districts, especially in the South End. I know I got a minute. And you should really contact your people in your district and ask them how do they feel about this, because if it's true what Mr. DePillo says, and all these companies are coming in and all these other places coming in from Woket, wherever they're coming in, why can't we charge them an excise tax? Why can't we say, hey, if you guys are going to bring your stuff here to Waterbury, we're going to start charging you some extra money, because you know what? It's high time that we did that. Thank you.
Mr. President, that's the last speaker tonight.
Thank you. With that, we'll close the public hearing, call to order the regular meeting for Monday, April 9, 2018. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Brunelli.
Here.
Alderwoman Cavallo. Alderwoman Cotto.
Here.
Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
Here.
Alderman Dorso.
Here.
Alderman Giacomi.
Here.
Alderman Hadley.
Here.
Alderman Kula.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Matthews.
Present.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Here.
Alderman Napoli.
Here.
Alderman Nugent.
Present.
Alderman Sherman.
Here.
Alderman Prunarooski.
Here.
14 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. And again, Alderman Caballo is still continues to recuperate from her surgery, so please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. With that, we go on to public speaking. Anyone who wishes to address the board, please sign up with Mr. Conway, the city sheriff. Again, please state your name and address for the record. There's a 5-minute limit, and I will give you a 1-minute heads up. Mr. Sheriff.
First speaker from 96 Down Street, Martin Spring.
You know, this feels Martin Spring, 96 Down Street. This reminds me of the old days when I used to come here to speak, and I was what called the Speaker of the House. I was the only one, right, Mr. Brunelli? Only one to come here to speak. Anyways, you know, the thing that I was wanting to say is I feel really bad for the homeowners in the city of Waterbury, because I had a list on the mill rates. You guys are going to be getting that at the next public hearing for the budget. Actually, I made a copy for each and every one of you. The mill rate for 169 towns throughout the whole state of Connecticut, the current mill rate. And I figured you guys would like that, to look at that. Because I just want to say this, that as far as the taxes and mill rate goes, I know it's important to get the mill rate down. For example, if your property is assessed at value as $50,000 with a 20 mill rate, would that be nice if we had a 20 mill rate in Waterbury? You would have a property tax bill of only $1,000 per year. So say like our mill rate is 60.21 mils, the home value, my home value is home valued at $65,000. My tax bill for the year would be $3,900. And I know we are talking about the mill rate going up for the motor vehicle, because I believe the motor vehicle mill rate in Hartford right now is, I heard it was 18.39 mils, and I think that's kind of hard to believe, because that must be an old number there, because I think the mill rate all over the state of Connecticut, I believe, is 35 mils throughout the whole state, and that's a fixed mill rate. But, you know, it would be nice if, again, we could get the mill rate lowered in the city of Waterbury. Like I said, you know, in Waterville, we do have King Industries coming in, and Levada, which they're already there, by the way. And so many things are happening around Waterbury. But again, you know, I think somebody was here last time talking about the roads and, you know, how they are in bad shape and everything. And how, you know, I guess we would have to go as us, the homeowners and taxpayers or anybody who lives in Waterbury would have to go and drive around and look and report it to somebody in the O'Leary administration. But I don't know why anybody would want to do that, because to me, you know, we're all in this together, and people see things and they should say something. And I agree with that. But when you have, you know, people that work for the city, and that would be in the Public Works Department, I mean, I don't know what their policy is, but I think that these people, I don't know if they drive around all day looking to see the ruts and the potholes, but there's an awful lot of potholes and ruts, and we know because of the winter, we had a bad winter. I understand that. And I don't know what kind of, you know, patches they put on, and they told me they're cold patches, and I guess warm patches in the summer and the spring. But the thing is, you know, the stuff that they're using, I don't know if it's low-grade tar or if it's good grade. I don't know what it is, but it's something that I think that, you know, a long time ago, a guy told me this. He said, look, you've been working on cars for a long time, Martin. I said, yeah. He said, well, you know, there's millions and millions and millions of tires all over the country. If they could turn around and they could do this, they have the technology, and engineers already know about this, that they could turn around and melt these tires down and use them for tar, for the roads, asphalt, if you will. And that would work out really well. But because of the rules and regulations within the environmental control within the United States of America, federal, EPA and DEP and everything else, that they would not be allowed to do this. But I'm thinking maybe in the future with some new technology, we can do this, because everybody knows is, I mean, I have used tires in my house over there in my garage.
Mr. Spring.
And I can't get rid of them. So, I mean, there's, you know, I have to pay to get rid of them. In the same place where I work, we have to do the same thing. So, I mean, you know, we're going into the year 2018, 2019, and maybe we can do that. Maybe there's some thought about that. You know, like I said, there's an awful lot of things that we can do to change things and help people. But again, the thing is, when I want to talk about, I am going to bring that information about the mill rate and throughout the whole state of Connecticut, and I appreciate a little bit of time here. And I also want to let you know that I am the chairman of the Waterbury Human Rights Commission, and I will be giving a report about what we've been doing. And I want to thank Brenda, because she's wonderful to be on the board. She helps us out each and every time. And I want to let you know that we will be bringing that to the Board of Aldermen's attention. The only reason I haven't in the past is because Reverend Mallory, as you know, passed away, and we're just trying to get things back together. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Next speaker from 11 Steuben Street, Lawrence V. DiPillo.
Good evening. Lawrence DiPillo, 11 Steuben Street. I'd like to address something that is not on your agenda, and I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be or not, and I've been called by a number of the public on this, and I'm not really sure what the jurisdiction of the Board of Aldermen is going to be. And that's regarding F&G LLC. It seems this company was invited in by Mayor O'Leary and his Economic Development Director to put the proposal together to bring in 700 tons of garbage a day into the city on Railroad Hill Street. And there was supposed to be an environmental justice hearing, which was handled by the DEEP. And to say that it was a joke would be putting it mildly. There were no signs how to get there. Many people weren't able to find it. And when they got there, there were no chairs to sit. You had to stand in a room, and there was no presentation whatsoever. And it went before the zoning board, and the zoning board rejected it. And then F&G appealed it to the courts. And unbeknownst to the taxpayers, the city of Waterbury went ahead, and the mayor had mentioned on his radio program that he had a weak case. Well, I can understand when the administration invites somebody to put together a proposal and then it gets rejected, that would be a pretty weak case. Because it was a wink and a blink. You're invited in. Our zoning board said no, but bring it to court and we'll settle. Because we really are the people who told you to bring this proposal to us in the first place. And the city did. It settled. And then the zoning board, at a very quiet meeting that wasn't even advertised in the newspaper, went ahead and gave approval for 350 tons a day of garbage in this city. And between the $40 million proposal before you tonight and a fat oil and grease, it doesn't seem that there's any garbage coming from anywhere that this mayor doesn't seem to like. I mean, his claim to fame is going to be that he turned Waterbury into the garbage dump. But anyways, the reason I'm here is the public has already signed petitions so that they can have a hearing before the DEEP on their permit. The question is, does this settlement come before this Board of Aldermen?
You know the answer to that, Larry.
Well,
You know the answer.
I don't. I wouldn't be
You
here
do.
if I did.
And
Mr.
if
President,
you
I swear if I
don't,
knew that
you
answer,
should.
I wouldn't be here.
There's a lot of things that you've said tonight, and I normally don't do this, but there's a lot of things you've said tonight that are patently false and untrue.
Oh.
And I don't know what you do and don't know, but I am very surprised as I sit here to hear you say that you don't know the Board of Aldermen has no jurisdiction over
I understand
zoning
they have,
matters.
look, I understand, that's what I'm saying. I understand the Board of Aldermen has no jurisdiction over the zoning board. My question is whether or not this board has jurisdiction to accept a out-of-court settlement from the city of Waterbury rather than have this continue to go through the court process and then appeal it.
The answer to that is the same as the other one. The zoning is within the purview of the zoning board.
So the aldermen have no jurisdiction whatsoever. Then I appreciate that, Mr. President. And although you say what I'm saying is patently false, I tend to disagree. You were at that. I believe you were there at that first hearing.
I'm
which was,
talking about the genesis of this project coming into the city and the role that the mayor has played in it and how this settlement came to be. I understand there were issues with the hearing, but that's not something the city ran. That was something that the state ran. But I take great exception to the allegations that you're making against the administration, how this project came to be, and how this matter was handled
all right,
as far as the settlement.
That's fine.
So,
And I'm not
and
going
I'll
to,
give you an extra 4 minutes because I've taken
I don't
your
need a
time.
4 minutes, but what I want to say is I was at a hearing where it was directly asked of the administration, how did F&G get to put this proposal in the city? And F&G admitted that it was the Economic Development Director of the City of Waterbury, which is in the mayor's administration, that approached them to bring forward this 700 tons of garbage a day, and that was involving Waterbury's garbage. And the only people in the dark on that was the citizens of Waterbury. And I know that many people in Tom Plot, as well as the South End, are not happy with 700 tons, and they're not going to be satisfied with 350 tons. And they're here because they were invited in by the mayor's economic development director. And you can go to F&G and ask them themselves. Thank you.
Mr. President, that's the last speaker tonight.
Thank you. With that, the next item on the agenda would be the approval of minutes for the meeting of Monday, March 19th, 2018, and the special budget presentation meeting of Wednesday, March 28th, 2018. Is there a motion with respect to the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting on March 19th, 2018, and the meeting on Wednesday, March 28th, 2018 was...
Second.
Motion having been made by Alderman Brunelli and seconded by Alderman Napoli. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. With that, we will recess into committees. There's not a lot of items. We'll do both of them out here. We'll start with intergovernmental and then go to finance.
I'd like to call to order the intergovernmental meeting scheduled for Monday, April 9th. First item on our agenda is item number 7. Your intergovernmental committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approves a memorandum of understanding with Fairfield University for teacher participation in the Ann E. Fowler Fellowship Program at no cost for a 2-year period as submitted by Carrie A. Swain, Clerk, Waterbury Board of Education. Alderman Napoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve item 7.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on item 7? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Item passes. Item 7 passes. Next item on the agenda, item number 8. Your intergovernmental committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approves the request for subordination of mortgage at 24 Lamson Street from Mark and Kathy Johnson as submitted by Tina Lubis, Housing and Community Planning Program Manager, Office of Community Development. Alderman Napoli.
Motion to approve item 8.
Second.
I have a motion to approve item 8, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Item 8 passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 9. Your intergovernmental committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approves the request for release of public assistance lien on 38 Seminole Avenue as submitted by Michael LeBlanc, Director of Finance. Alderman Napoli.
Motion to approve item 9.
Second.
I have a motion to approve item 9, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Item 9 passes. Next item on the agenda, item number 10. Your intergovernmental committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approves the healthcare and related benefit plans consultant services contract with One Digital Health and Benefits in the amount of $200,000 a year with a start date of April 1st, 2018, as submitted by Michael LeBlanc, Director of Finance.
Motion to approve item 10.
Second.
I have a motion to approve item 10, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10 passes. Next item on the agenda, item number 11. Your intergovernmental committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approves the pension and OPEB actuarial services contract with Hooker and Holcomb Incorporated in the amount of $205,000, commencing April 30th, 2018 to November 1st, 2023, as submitted by Michael LeBlanc, Director of Finance. Alderman Napoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion to approve item 11.
Second.
I have a motion to approve item 11, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 11 passes. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
I call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Item number 2, your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve a refund of deposit in the amount of $1,000 from September 2013 for the return of 2 public hearing signs, $500 each, to the Office of Planning and Zoning as requested by Laurie Sagnella, 16 Beach View Avenue, Old Saybrook, Connecticut, 06475.
So moved.
No.
Mr. Chairman? May I, James Sequin, City Planner. It's my office that receives and returns these checks. And may I address the committee before you vote?
Go ahead.
When these signs are returned, there would be some kind of a receipt or some kind of sign-off if they were to be returned?
The process is we require a deposit check, which we do not cash unless the signs do not come back. So what the person receives is the check itself when they return the sign. We also have the person sign a receipt that we've given them the check back. In this particular instance, my office has no records of the signs ever being returned. In the lady's letter, she indicates that she brought it in and someone on the 5th floor of 185 South Main took the signs and said he didn't know where the checks were. We asked everyone who worked on the floor, did this happen? Did you take any signs? No one did. This stretched out over a period of several years, so I'm not exactly sure how that relates to when we actually deposited the checks. But once we deposit the checks, we obviously can't refund it on our own. That would have to come to you. And in this case, I know she was asking that I submit a refund or a request for the refund, and I declined to do so because I believe the burden of proof is upon her to show some sort of justification that the signs were returned. I can't say that she didn't do it, but I can't say that she did. So that's the situation where we are, and I think if the refund is going to occur, it should be your decision, not mine. I should not return that unless I'm confident that the sign that is done in accordance with the rules. This fee, by the way, is in the package of fees, together with the deposit and return of checks.
Further discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you. Normally, the only thing that we give back to one of the residents is their check. Is that correct? Or do we give them another form of verification that the signs have been turned in?
They turn in a verification that they've hung the signs in accordance with the regulations, give us the signs, we give them the check, and again, we have them sign, we're the ones handing over the check, so we have them sign a receipt, and they can have a copy of that as well. But once they have possession of the check, obviously we cannot cash it.
So there is no signed receipt.
I do not believe that there is. I don't personally hand that out. If someone wanted something in writing, we would give it to them. But again, it's the opposite situation of normally receiving. Whenever anyone gives us a check, and they do get a receipt when they drop the check off. But in returning the check, I'm not sure what purpose. A receipt, they have the check itself, which is better than a receipt.
Do we not have them sign anything when they return the signs? We just give them their check back?
No, we have them sign a receipt that basically they're giving us a receipt that they have received the check back from us. And truthfully, this works pretty well.
And the city has no record of this receipt? Is that, I'm not sure if I'm fully understanding.
All my records indicate that no one ever asked for the checks back. That's what my records indicate. And going through, we submitted the checks, the checks that we had on file that were beyond the time period that we allow people to return, and we're very generous with extending the time period. The time period had long passed, so we cashed the checks, which is what we tell people we're going to do.
So how does a resident verify that they actually put these signs up if the city has given the checks back?
Well,
If I had these signs up on my property, brought the signs back, got my check back from the city, how can a resident verify after that point that those signs were turned in?
The signs are for a public hearing, and there is ample verification in the record of the public hearing. That's really where it needs to be, because a failure to post the signs could overturn a commission's approval. So what the normal process is, a staff person there's a 15-day period prior to the public hearing that the signs have to be posted, and the signs also have to be posted until the end of the hearing. During that 15-day period, a staff person goes by, looks at the sign. The commissions that I work with, I take a photo, make it part of my presentation that I went out during the 15-day period prior to the opening of the hearing. And the signs are present, have a photo of the sign right in my presentation. There is also an affidavit that the person can swear out that the sign was posted in accordance with our regulations, and they can turn that in if they so choose. They do not always have to do that. Usually the signage is not a problem. I think it's probably the third instance we had, and the only one involving the fee. But in one instance, the sign was in fact out there, although the principal of the Sprague School didn't believe it, and that was for a firing range project that the school was opposed to. And the other one was an apartment complex down on Highland Avenue that dates back to probably over 10 years ago now, certainly over 10 years ago now, where there was a lot of neighborhood opposition and people were stealing the signs. And now this is the first one that we had where someone said the city would not give me my check back. We have cashed out the checks.
So we don't actually, do you keep the signed receipt?
Yes,
The city has a copy of the signed receipt to verify?
Yes, but we don't in this instance because...
Okay, but normally we do.
Yeah, in this instance, if we found that and I still had the checks, I would have given the checks back. If we found it and I had already cashed the checks, I would be making the request to you to refund it. I mean, we're trying to do what's right, but in this instance, we have to look at the larger picture. Unless she couldn't name the person, she couldn't really give us anything that we could go on beyond, I gave the signs to somebody that was up there.
Understood, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny the refund request.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor of denial?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen issue refunds for unused electrical permits. A, permit number PR20170003620 Hauser Street, amount $360 to Vivin Solar. B, permit number PR20170003118 35 Stone Hollow Road, amount $697. Permit number PR20170003592 1630 Watertown Avenue, amount $370.50 to DeBasi Electric LLC, submitted by E. Gil Graveline, Building Official Department of Inspections.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Standing business. Standing. Your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve and authorize the Director of Finance to make refunds to taxpayers representing overpayments of tax bills in the amount of $56,810.04 submitted by Revenue Collection Manager Frank A. Caruso.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Alderman Sherman.
Thank you. Some of these are pretty large. There's two of them that are close to $10,000. Are these one property? Is this a business? Paul, is that something that you might, this is the standing committee for, some of them are, there's two of them almost $10,000.
These are the permit returns?
No, this is,
Oh, payment taxes.
yes. There's two of them that are close to 10,000 here.
Yeah, you know, yeah, so I'm trying to find it. You know what, it's probably got to do with like foreclosures and stuff when they true up. They probably get screwed up when they're doing the payments
Okay.
to get to the closing. So that, it does seem like a lot, but if you look, see, they're all development, the corporation. So I'm sure that they've got to do with foreclosures and such as they're truing up. They probably overpay and they have to correct it.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Old business item number 2. Your Finance Committee recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve a bond authorization in the amount of $40 million for the phosphorus reduction upgrade project at Waterbury Pollution Control, submitted by Michael LeBlanc, Director of Finance.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Alderman Sherman?
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Larry Padillo made reference to the city only producing 25% of this waste. Is that an accurate number?
To that specific question, I'm going to ask Dennis Cuevas to address that. If I may, just for general comment on a couple items, this would be a good opportunity.
Good.
We put forward this request for the bond authorization under the time frame that we've been working with, being sensitive to the fact that the completion of the project is mandated to be completed by April 1st, 2020. When we submitted this request for the bond authorization, the project work was still out to bid. We still did not have the numbers yet as far as what the ultimate cost of the project was going to be. We were operating off of estimates. Since that time, we have received the responses to the invitation to bid for the project work. I can attest to the fact that the actual cost of the project will result in needing to finance several $1 million less than the request at this stage of the game. And that contract itself will be brought before you at a later date once the final selection process has been completed and the contract development has been put forward. Between now and then, we will continue to evaluate the mandate under which this project is being required. It just so happens that time frame is overlapping with a request for proposal that has been issued for potential operation and management of the water pollution control plant. Following the issuance of that RFP, we had a mandatory information session and 7 interested parties, companies registered for that session. It will be our plan through this process to have a discussion with the interested parties as far as their thoughts as it relates to this project, the phosphorus reduction project. Ultimately, you know, we may have no choice in the matter, but we're certainly going to want to continue to further vet this. It is important, however, that we do have this authorization put in place. It ensures that we're able to continue to move forward down the path if ultimately it's determined that we really don't have any choice in the matter. There are items at risk that have to be contemplated in the next few weeks to couple months. In play is the state assistance that's been committed to this project. The state has approved $32 million towards this project in the form of a 50% grant. So half of that amount will be in the form of a grant, and the other half would be in the form of 2% loan financing over 20 years, that 2% being a really good rate. And then the other component of this final analysis, if you will, before we ultimately award a contract for the phosphorus reduction is to keep in mind, or at least to continually keep in mind, the exposure on the penalty side. If this work is not completed by April 20th, there are penalty provisions. You know, certainly I can't say with any degree of certainty that they would be imposed, but that possibility is there. So we're going to continue to stay close to this. Certainly the ask this evening is that you do approve the authorization to allow us to continue to move forward so that in the event, again, that it's determined that we are going to do this, that we're able to put the other pieces in place, in particular the contract, and be able to move forward in a timely manner. So with that, I'll certainly be available to answer any questions, but I did want to have Dennis take the opportunity to address some of the comments from earlier this evening.
One thing, you said 50% of $32 million the state is providing in a grant?
Mm-hmm. Half of that, so $16 million. There'll be a $16 million grant.
Is that towards this $40 million or on top of the $40 million?
It'll absolutely be towards this. And,
Okay.
and at the end of the day, as is always the case, but I think it's worth just that friendly reminder, repeating it, we will only finance the net cost of the project, or ultimately what we spend for the project, and it will also always be net of any state assistance brought to the table.
Thank you. Are you able to answer concerning that number 25% of the waste that only comes from Waterbury? Is
That's
that
correct.
accurate?
And that is part of a contract that was approved by this board back in December of 2016, and it's a 5-year agreement with the incinerator operated by Synagro.
Okay, so I'll also ask, Watertown and Wolcott, do we test their waste coming into the city?
We don't currently test their waste coming to the city, but they are also would be part of the capital improvement that we will need to do to the plant. And I say that because the last time the upgrade happened back in 2000, they were assessed depending on the flow that they discharge to the city of Waterbury. So Watertown is about 10% of the flow. Wolcott is about 5% of the flow, and they were assessed that percentage for any capital improvement back the last time it was upgraded, and we think that going forward it would be the same case.
So we could possibly expect to get 5 and 10% of this funding from Watertown and Wolcott?
That's correct, but I just want to mention that we're under discussions with Watertown at this point regarding their agreement. So there might be changes to that, but right now, as the agreement states, that would be the case.
Is Synagro funding any of this project at all?
Phosphorus? No, but as part of the contract that we had, we actually require them to install a water treatment equipment to reduce phosphorus. So that equipment has been installed, and they are discharging roughly between 90 to 95% less than what they were discharging previously.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Further discussion?
Dennis, what would change as far as Watertown? What do you mean by their contract may change with us? It was almost like you were implying that they may not pay towards the capital project. Is that?
No, I'm not implying that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that there's going to be changes because the agreement actually expires on July 1st of this year. So every time we go back and look at language that was there previously, we try to obviously change it to the benefit of the city.
Okay. So we have no intentions of changing that language at all?
Not
Okay.
at this
All right. Thank you.
Alderman Sherman?
Thank you. Thank you again, Dennis. According to the budget, there's a few other towns that we take waste from. Do any of these other towns pay into a project like this as well?
Each of them will pay a portion of this project, and it depends on the discharge. So we also take waste from Cheshire. We also take waste from Naugatuck and also Prospect. Each of them have a share of a portion of this capital project.
Do we have any idea what the percentage of this project would come from outlying towns?
The total percentage, like I said, what comes to mind, Watertown about 10%, Wolcott about 5%, Naugatuck, I want to say probably 1%. They're very, very small. Prospect about the same, about 1%, and Cheshire even less, because I believe there's only three or four homes that are discharged to us, so that's probably 0.05% if I had to guess.
Okay. So of all the waste that we take into the city, we have 10% from Watertown, Wolcott, 5%, 15, 16, 17%, 25% from the city of Waterbury. The rest is coming from Synagro?
No, when you say it's coming from Synagro, what?
Is the other waste, the other 40% roughly, or 60% coming from Synagro?
No, the discharge from Synagro, like I indicated, has been reduced from 90 to 95%. So they discharge about 2.5 million gallons a day. We receive 20 million gallons a day. So,
okay,
that's the proportion.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion?
Yeah. So Mike, safe to say that this project is going to be, could possibly be under, for Waterbury taxpayers, under $20 million? Safe to say?
From a net financing
Yes.
standpoint, after factoring in the state's grant and factoring in the participation from the other towns, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion?
We've already put in for an extension on this, is that correct? And we're at that extension?
Well, the extension permitted getting to a level, I believe, of .07. Right. So there was an agreement that allowed for a period of time up until essentially April 2020 to get down to a reduced level, but not as low as that .02. So yes, we are, there has been an extension granted that allowed us to make modifications which have been made. And again, just to highlight a key point with Synagro, the chemical treatments that they're obligated to pay for is such that they have to meet the discharge limits that are established on the phosphorus level. So they have to do what is necessary on their dime to get down to the .7 level. And I believe similarly, once the next permit, if you will, goes to effect in April 2020, there'll be a lower discharge permit that they will have to comply with as well.
Now, we have a field down at the plant that we were given some land from the state, I think late, sometime in 2017. It was my understanding that that was a holding area for phosphorus.
No, that I think you're referring to those south end landfill. And in that case, is what we acquired was land from DOT, from Route 8, and that's only to maintain and continue to operate in the landfill. But right now, the ash that used to go there is no longer going there. That's being chipped away, it's being hauled away, trucked away by Synagro at their expense.
Okay, so no phosphorus is being stored at that?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you, sorry.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Yeah, we always go to committee if you want to take it off the count. I know we've done some of this. Yeah. The more controversial.
Thank you. With that, we'll return to the regular order of business. And the following items are on the consent calendar. Item 1 is receive and place on file. Item 2 is on consent to deny the requested refund of deposit in the amount of $1,000 from September 2013 for the return of 2 public hearing signs to the Office of Planning and Zoning. Item 3 is on consent to receive and place on file. Item 4 is on consent to refund the unused electrical permits to 273 Hauser Street in the amount of $360, to 35 Stone Hollow Road in the amount of $697.50, 1630 Watertown Avenue in the amount of $337.50. Item number 5 is on consent to receive and place on file. 6 is receive and place on file. 7 is on consent to approve a memorandum of understanding with Fairfield University for teacher participation in the Annie Fowler Fellowship Program at no cost for a 2-year period. Item number 8 is on consent to approve a request for a subordination of mortgage regarding 24 Lamson Street to Mark and Kathy Johnson. Item number 9 is on consent to approve a request to release a public assistance lien on 38 Seminole Avenue. Item number 10 is on consent to approve a healthcare and related benefit plan consultant services contract, One Digital Health and Benefits in the amount of $200,000 per year with a commencement date of April 1, 2018. Item 11 is on consent to approve a pension and OPEB actuarial service contract with Hooker & Holcomb in the amount of $205,000, commencing April 30th, 2018 and running through November 1st, 2023. Item 12 is on consent to receive and place on file. Old business, item number 2 is on consent to approve a bond authorization in the amount of $40 million for the phosphorus reduction upgrade project at the Waterbury Pollution Control. Is there a motion with respect to the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar is read.
Second.
Motion to approve having been made by Alderman Brunelli and seconded by Alderman Napoli. Are there any additions or deletions to the consent calendar? Hearing none, then, a yes vote would be to approve the consent calendar as read. A no vote would be to disapprove it. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The vote is unanimous, 14-0. The motion carries. The consent calendar is approved. With respect to standing committees, the chair...
Mr. President, your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve and authorize the Director of Finance to make refunds to taxpayers representing overpayments of tax bills in the amount of $56,810.04 submitted by Revenue Collection Manager Frank A. Caruso.
So move.
Motion having been made by Alderman D. Giovancarlo and seconded by Alderman Kula. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then, a yes vote would be to approve the refund, a no vote to disapprove. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. The refunds are approved. With that, is there anything for the good of the order? Hearing none, Alderman Brunelli.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion having been made by Alderman Brunelli, seconded by Alderman Lopez. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.